So first of all, thank you, Khaki, and thank you, Farooq, for inviting me to deliver this talk. And it's always pleasure to be associated with Khaki Tours. And thank you, Amrita, for coordinating for this event, and Perina for that introduction. So it's very interesting that, in November 2 years back, I delivered a talk for the first time, I think, on the Khaki platform, and it was about oral histories that we had in Godrej Archives collection. When I was just going through, what I had presented 2 years back, just to, see that, what I shouldn't be repeating again. And I then was really amazed to see that my last slide had this picture, of the exhibition, and where I had actually, asked people to visit, whenever the lockdown will be over. So please, that invitation is still on. So now actually that lockdown is over, you can come and see this physical space as such. But during the lockdown, when we were like really could not entertain a lot of visitors to our space, we were really disheartened because this was the space that we had created so that, we can engage with the communities, the school kids, college kids, even those, who were working on the campus, the employees. And from 2017 to 2020 till the lockdown, we had actually, interacted with lot many batches at this physical space where people participated in exploring the Godrej's history. But lockdown, of course, really stopped everything for us. It ruled out, all the physical tours and interactions with people. So at that time, we thought that how this physical space can be really, brought to people virtually, so that, this kind of restrictions, these kind of, geographical distances won't matter. And especially this should be available for people. It should be accessible to people. Coming to think of the archives, archives wasn't really a space, which was considered to be very open till recently. I will be just stopping my video for the bandwidth issue. Yeah. So archives is usually whenever we really, think about the archives, the image that one really creates in mind is that of like a closed box, which is not really accessible. The contents are protected in it. It's safely guarded, from any external kind of an interference, protected from any kind of handling. And there is a limited access, so usually archives are the spaces where most of the researchers go, except for the public archives, which is accessible to even, public, whoever is interested in knowing or finding about their own things. But usually archives is considered to be where, you're controlling things. And if there is one object that can actually, you can visualize the archives is this cubic shaped box, which will have all the files, all the contents, all your papers in safe custody. And this is how we really perceived archives, till recently. Uh, However, today, slowly archives are opening up. They are actually creating spaces which are more inclusive, where people can participate. Information is crowdsourced nowadays because of the digital tools that are available. So it's, slowly these kind of walls are being peeled away. And slowly the archives are opening up, or at least creating these middle spaces where the content and the consumer of the archives can really interact well. And that really reminded me of this art exhibit that I had seen it in 2015 of Ricardo Bray, who is a Cuban artist. And at 56 Venice Biennale, he had showed this box. So the box that I had showed in the earlier slide is actually not just the box, but it was his artwork. And he actually emphasized on this whole process of opening, unfolding, unraveling, and extending. And he has created these 14 cube shaped boxes which had this kind of a content that you are seeing on the screen. And what he really insisted was on the viewer's participation while he was opening the box, fold by fold, petal by petal. And what actually really, came out of this is like the different objects that he had preserved. And that's what he always said, that this box is basically kind of an attic, and it is memory and the world. So how actually this can be explored, and how people also can really participate. So that really made me actually it inspired me. And this whole emphasis on viewers participation can actually now transform the archives, by creating the spaces where the users and archives can meet midway, where you can access some of the material, at least if not all, which are kept in the repository. But these exhibitions, if we can make it accessible to a lot of people, it would be a great experience for everyone to understand the history of different things. So Godrej Archives was also, like, for now almost 16, 17 years, has always therefore aimed at creating these kind of multiple touch points, through the website, through the social media platform, through these virtual tours, and through the exhibitions, the pop-up exhibitions, whereby actually people can experience what the Godrej history was all about. But journey wasn't really simple, like, so we always believe that by restoring this, we and by allowing people to interact with it, people can really reflect on this history that we have been preserving, and then they can reimagine it in a better ways. And employees especially, who are our immediate users in the company, they can actually understand the DNA of the company through the history, the legacy that we were showcasing, and then they can translate it into what they are doing today and what they are planning for tomorrow in the company. So that was basically what we were always striving at, and this journey wasn't simple. So after really persevering for initial years, establishing the sound foundation, through laying down the policies, procedures, establishing these kind of repositories, with the proper controls, with the proper environment controls. I'm saying, where we can actually preserve it for the future. What actually started early on, to make data accessible, and what started with the Excel sheets, we gradually actually, moved to the digital asset management softwares in 2014, followed by setting up of the digital lab, because all these kind of foundation was very much necessary if we want to plan a digital future, or the virtual future is which is more accessible. So that's why these kind of steps were really and are always important for an archives, because unless and until your metadata and database is like strong, you really cannot go into making it accessible through the virtual or physical, any space in that sense. And therefore we also thought of, around the same time, in 2012, when we were doing this exhibition on Sorab Godrej, in Vikhroli, lot of our branch employees complain that we cannot really see it, we cannot come to Bombay. So what we can actually really, how we can really look at these kind of exhibits. So at that time, what, with the limited digital tools that were available to us within the limited budgets that we had, what we tried was we actually took the photograph of the exhibition, weaved it into like a, kind of a seamless kind of a fabric, and then that was actually uploaded online, where people can click on the photo, which could zoom in, zoom out, and then the way they could actually experience this. So that was our first, experience with the digital, and we thought that this is an excellent medium. So in 2017, when we finally thought of, this exhibition, because even this exhibition space wasn't there till 2017. So we thought that we need a space where, this kind of thing is accessible, because not everyone is coming to your archives to research. So employees want to just come and see, feel good about the legacy, where they can quickly glance through the 120 years, 125 years of Godrej history. So in 2017, when Godrej completed 120 years, we thought this is the time when we should actually make this kind of a space. But the challenge was how to communicate the history in interesting way, more engaging way, because there were engineers that we were dealing with, there were marketing guys, management guys, who were not really interested in reading through the labels, which usually we are accustomed to when we are visiting the exhibition. So how to make that an immersive kind of an experience for them, how to make it more engaging, how to make it more interactive. So we kept thinking about this physical space. So today I will be taking you through the virtual tour of that physical space. But before that, I'll just tell you what we did in 2017 with that physical space. This was just a 500 square feet area that we had. And it was really was challenging to really think about what we will showcase from the 125 years history in this 500 square feet area. And that's where actually the digital technologies came to the rescue. And you will see how we have used the Kindles, QR codes, a lot of interactive digital content, so that to make it not just engaging, but try and deal with this problem of abundance of information that we had. So I'll quickly tell you what we really did with this. And then in 2017, when this space was inaugurated, uh, you know, uh, it was really, now of course employees feel really happy to visit this, because this is somewhere they can actually have a quick view of the entire history. So this is actually the opening, panel that we have. But what we did with this, and this is basically the Lal Bagh factory where Godrej started in 1897. And I think one of the khaki walks at Lal Bagh actually show this building, which is still there in the Bombay Gas Company lane at Lal Bagh. And I think it's included in the Lal Bagh Walk of Khaki Tours, is what I remember. And so this is the building, and this is the drawing that we had. But then this whole panel, we actually got it hand painted by the worker, because this is how generally the factory scenes look like, where you will see the safety slogans hand painted by the workers. They will also have a lot of policies, rules, or even their daily work schedules, which are really hand drawn and handwritten. So we wanted to create those kind of factory scenes, and use those kind of things that you will see rampant in the factory, and translate that into this space as well. So we asked one of the painter which is employed with Godrej, who does this work all over the campus and in some of the factories. So we asked him to come. We gave him the a kind of a stencil, and then he really did an amazing job with this. Uh, the lot of colors that you actually see here are also chosen carefully from the past records that we have. So a lot of packaging had these vibrant colors of blue, yellow, red. So when we were actually discussing with the designers, who really made us do a lot of brainstorm sessions with them, who asked us to a lot of questions, and we really should thank the Hano team which is based in Bangalore, and Sarita, who heads the Hano team, for really making us think beyond the usual academic history, by asking us so many questions about the colors that were used, about the typefaces that were used in, let's say, 50s, 60s, or 30s, how it has been evolved. So they asked us too many questions. They asked us a lot of stories. They asked us how we got certain things. So it was really an interesting experience. So here, if you see this, TO is actually the typeface. The similar typeface is used when we write the Storwell, which is again a popular brand of the steel cupboards of Godrej, and that's TO is actually from that one of the catalog that we have, or even this the is from one of the catalog and the letterheads. So this is the kind of thing that we try to do with these kind of spaces. Then we created this panel which were talking about the values that Godrej believed in, and these are not the official corporate values, but these are the values which, as an archives team, we had found while going through a lot of our documents, like self-reliance, nation building, focus on quality, people and environment. So all these things which we tried, but then how to translate that. So what we did was we actually used this wheel. This wheel is actually not a normal wheel, but this is the wheel which is used on one of our safes, current safes that are being manufactured. So this is actually the wheel to open the door of the safe. So we were also using the products that were available to us to communicate this story. And then this was movable. So as you move this, the content on the screens would change. So this will talk about the value that we are talking about, and these were the corresponding images would be reflected on this panel. This is the closer look of that wheel. So you can actually keep moving it so that these panels will keep changing and will tell you more information about that. Apart from these traditional panels and traditional showcases that we had, we also created something like a display of a kirana store, because that's how the soaps were sold in the kirana store. So we actually recreated a lot of packaging from the yesteryears, and we actually created a display like that over here to resemble that. We also did interesting things because Godrej Process Equipment manufactures a lot of these huge columns for the refineries, which are sometimes of the height of Qutub Minar. But now how to actually showcase their work in the exhibition. So we just asked them to make a video room using the same material and resembling the shape of the refinery columns. And that's how actually, we tried showcasing, the history of process equipment. And this became like a video booth. So we asked them also to replicate the technical specifications that they usually write on their, columns. So we just asked them to make this. And then of course we twisted few of the things by saying warning. So they usually write the safety warnings because these are like refinery columns. But what we had a warning is like blast from the past. So those are the kind of things our designers really very creatively translated some of the historical stuff and the product stories that we wanted to actually showcase. And then we also recreated Vikhroli, because the history of Godrej is really inseparable from the spatial history of Vikhroli as a area, and hence we actually incorporated a dedicated zone. So this is a Vikhroli map of Godrej, and these all are like plants. The numbers that you see are the plant numbers, so all the factories are numbered. So this is plant 19. This is where the archives is on the campus. So this is what we created. And because the railway line actually passes through our campus, we actually call these like stations. So station number 5, station number 6. So you actually go to these, poles, and then you will have these little Kindles talking about history of each and every plant. So you can actually browse through it. And we never knew the use of Kindles for this. So our designers really made us aware that you can actually use the Kindles when there is a lot of text that you have to really showcase. So a lot of text, a lot of photographs of earlier plants or the plant constructions we uploaded on this, and each pole would have like information on each and every plant. So apart from that, we also wanted to create an experiential uh, experience, because we wanted people to get the touch and feel, because memory is experienced in different ways. Sometimes the smell triggers the memory, sometimes the touch triggers the memory. So these are the kind of things which we wanted to incorporate in that experience. So what we really did was like we created these kind of replicas of our documents, because usually what happens is like sometimes we are really hesitant to touch things in the museum or exhibitions. We are also not allowed sometimes. So what we did was like we thought that let's create the replicas of the documents where people can feel like opening it up, seeing it, because that was the purpose of those records earlier, to be viewed, to be used in their so they had an administrative purpose earlier. So why not recreate that and let people also experience it, touch the product, touch these kind of documents without fearing about it. So we created replicas of our earlier catalog of 1925, which people can flip through. We created this is the first patent which you seeing on the screen, which people can now just handle, open it up and see how it looked like. We also created original fragrances of the soaps that Godrej had manufactured. And of course, we have to now refill this because after the lockdown, we have to now redo a lot of things. But So these are like, so we asked, so from the old advertisements, we listed out what were the earlier fragrances that were prominently used in our soaps. And we asked the soaps factory if they can recreate this. So synthol original is still being manufactured, so that was easy. But then they also created the rose, they also created the lime fragrance that were there in the earlier Godrej #1, #2, or #3. And at the launch, we actually created this kind of a packaging because we had few samples of the original packaging, and we actually asked the soap factory to recreate Godrej one, which has completed 100 years this year. That was introduced in 1922, and it's still a brand. So Godrej #1, we had an advertisement. So we give them this, picture of how the bar really looked like. And then they actually created a die and they actually made it again. And this was, of course, the launch gift. This was a limited edition that we made. But this is the kind of experience we tried creating with the physical space. And then these were actually what our designers really insisted, that they said that, we need archive stories, and we need how you have, different kinds of experiences that you had experienced. So there was a Lal Bagh story that they incorporated, that how we went about surveying old records at Lal Bagh, what we discovered. So our discovery stories also appear in these kind of things. And here is a story of one lady who actually inquired about if we have any documents pertaining to her father, who had moved to London, but before that he was working at Godrej. So she came all the down from London to look at his documents, and fortunately we were able to find this particular file on her father. And we also found one photograph of a Godrej cricket team where her father was also, part of. So these were like experiences which the designers really, loved, because they said that these are the human stories, which of the discoveries of these kind of memories. So we should be actually putting this. And they really did a very interesting kind of a comic way to, communicate these. So different kinds of interesting features, so that, we can cater to different kinds of age groups. And a lot of these young recruits who are joining the company can also feel really like, interested in this kind of a legacy, that Godrej can boast of. So throughout the, before the lockdown, we were entertaining, of course, this is the, after the lockdown picture, but till the lockdown, we were entertaining a lot of batches from school, colleges, from employees, and we were really having amazing time interacting with them at this physical space. But of course, the lockdown happened, and then we have to really consider, the virtual experience, recreating the virtual experience of it. So we actually started a little before the lockdown. We were just thinking about it, but then lockdown accelerated this whole process of making the virtual tour, because now we could see that why virtual tour is a must. So even the company recognized the value of, going virtual. And then, but then the challenge was how to now translate this physical space into a virtual tour. And then we have a, digital team, and Bismita from Godrej digital team actually really sat with us. We tried to understand how we can really go about it. She really helped us in finding the right agencies that can really help us, to translate this whole physical space into the virtual one. And she was delighted because, this information was readily available. That's what she kept saying, that, because you have so much of information already available, it would be like a easier thing to really go about. And earlier we had thought it might have been the difficult to, like, have this kind of a information virtually available. But then we thought like how to really even create these experiences. Now, as I was telling you, we had already thought that physical space should be the experiential one. So now in virtual, how people can touch the products, how people can really, really experience those products that we have kept. So I will show you how we had, done that by using AR, VR kind of a thing. So we will just start this virtual tour. So you can go to our Godrej website, and this is this is already available on our Godrej Archives website. And this is how we start with the mangroves, because mangroves is really an important part from where we are looking at the history. And therefore, we started with mangroves, and this is how, the Lal Bagh, the opening panel that we have in the exhibition gets translated. So you land here as you are landing in the physical space as well, and here you begin your journey by clicking on this. And this is actually how we, you can actually look at this space. So now how to actually, create this experience of a will that we have, made over here. So we tried to do something, like this, because now it is always about the click. It is not really like, you're touching the wheel and like moving it. So here we have to create click to rotate. Now this is a wheel of values, and here is the new nation is one of the values. So the nation building and how Godrej has contributed. And you can actually go here, see more. So there is a text which is usually used to appear on the Kindle, but now we have it on the screen. And then you can just click to rotate, and this is how it will keep turning the wheel. So this is some of the things that we had to really think about, that how we can translate this. And then the quality, as I was telling you, was one of the values. So that's how we tried doing that. Now if you go again back over here, and then you enter the exhibition, and this is how the first panel looks like. So basically we created 3 zones in our exhibition. The physical space is also divided into 3 zones. The first one actually starts with the founders, which is Ardeshir Godrej, who started the locks manufacturing in 1897, and then Piroj Shah joining in 1906. So these 2 brothers actually really shaped and established the whole Godrej name. And Godrej actually rose to be known as a safe makers of India, by 1920s already. So now how to do that? So we actually, created this kind of a space. So we started with, this is the only interview that we have on Ardeshir Godrej, uh, because that's the only kind of a window into understanding his values. And here he actually talks about, why actually youngsters should come forward and start, being interested into manufacturing, because he's actually scolding the youngster for not coming forward. And he's saying that how can you see the mother India bled at the hands of British? You must come forward, start manufacturing. So this is the kind of advice. So today we talk about startups, but he was already talking about these things then. And so it is a very interesting interview, and the only interview that we have. And here, if you see, this is from 1927 Indian Herald. So here actually you can, so here you can read about what really Ardeshir really thought of, what is the spirit of Swadeshi, how it inspired him, how he was inspired by Dadabhai Nauroji's writings, and how he always really encouraged the economic independence as well. So these are the kind of documents which were already there, which you can now see over here. Or this kind of a document which is published in 1928 from Bombay Chronicle, and this we had actually sourced from Asiatic. And this is actually very interesting headline, because it is Triumph for Swadeshi Venture, Godrej saves replace European make safe in Postal Department. So this is basically the post First World War period, when British industries were already into shackles, and now they have to look towards the industries in their colonies, because they were now dependent on them. And that's when actually you see a lot of industries emerging. And then there is a whole compilation that British actually went about for documenting what kind of factories were there, what kind of capabilities were there available in Bombay Presidency. And that amazing volume is available at the Asiatic Society, written by Somerset Plain. So these are the kind of documents which triggers those kind of inquiries into the history, and you can actually read it on your screen. So now at their own space. The PACE user can actually go through this at leisure and experience it. These are the kind of layouts also we tried, so that a lot of documents can be actually shown. And these are actually from some of our earlier catalogs. So these two are actually from the earlier catalogs, and here you can see there were 500 men at the factory around that time. These were the kind of users, these were the kind of companies which were using the Godrej safe. So the customers list you can get. So these were really amazing documents that really allow you to see how actually the era before the independence looked like for Godrej. And this is the handwritten note by Ardeshir Godrej. This is actually a receipt which he has signed and written like this. This is actually a safe, which is a keyless combination safe, which was purchased in 1914. And you can see actually the Godrej sign, and the logo is quite inspired by his sign as well as Piroj Shah's sign. So both of them used to actually connect the D and R the way you will find it in Godrej logo today. Over here, you can see that. So this safe is also now in our collection. But then this is the receipt also that customers send it to us, which they had been preserving. But now these are the documents which you can see on virtually as well. Now, if you go to the second section, which starts with locks, because locks was the first product. And here you can actually see some of the products. Now, because now they cannot really handle the locks, or even this were in showcases, but here, because it's virtual, you can actually just open it, move it. If you tap it, it will open the lock. So this is how, just to like creating the experience. And if you can actually scan this AR, you can actually see this kind of a product in your own space as well. Especially with the typewriter, it makes it really very interesting, which I will show you a little later. And some of these so this is a patent, but then this is the patent that you had already seen. So this is what actually otherwise people handle, but here now you can actually go through these kind of details and how the patent really looked like. So most of the important milestones have been covered over here. And then this is the a video clip which has been taken from one of our it's actually the first corporate film of Godrej. So you can check this.
When, about 7 decades ago, Godrej began the systematized manufacture of locks, the foundations of a large-scale industry were laid. Only its own key will open the Godrej security lock.
So these kind of videos, because this was almost like a 20 minutes corporate film that we had found on a 35mm reel. So we actually did the clips for like lock section. People can actually see how, the manufacturing was in 60s, how it looked like. So these kind of videos we had created. So in the physical space, when you turn this key, the video would start, but here in the virtual space, you can just like click it and, experience that. You can also, so here is actually the second product that you can look at. And this has a really interesting connection with Mumbai's history as well, because this is a safe. So the second product of Godrej was safe after locks, and Godrej introduced safe manufacturing in 1902. And if you you must have heard about the 1944 dock explosion that had happened, and in that, lot of safes, Godrej safes had protected a lot of things from that fire as well. So we had in a corporate film, this kind of a video which actually showcases that.
But the supreme test was yet to come. In the wartime ammunition explosions in the Bombay docks, which rocked the entire city, Godrej safes alone emerged with their contents intact.
So this is just to provide the context to this particular object that we have, and this we had found in our old Lalbagh factory. This was a 1 rupee note that was found intact in that blast that happened, the Bombay Dock explosion. And this was framed, and then this is how it was advertised then. So this framed one actually we found in Lalbagh. So these are the kind of, things that we could actually now, people can see. Even here, actually, you can see the lot of advertisements that can actually also tell you the journey of how advertising has changed. And this is actually what Godrej had published on 15th August 1947, how the narrative changes, and then suddenly we are talking about guardian of the nation's wealth in 50s and 56. So these are the kind of, it's itself is a kind of an interesting study if you look at how the advertisements have evolved over a period of time, and you can actually even check the accession number. So in case you need this kind of an image, you can just write this accession number and ask us now. uh, and we also actually tried adding human stories, and especially the Navgani community from Fadalewadi near Pune. They have been working with Godrej since 1940s, and this is almost third generation who is working with Godrej. And we actually had no records on it, so we did a little film on them. We tried documenting them through oral histories, and this is actually the photograph of the first batch of Navganis, and here you can actually go through the video. So you can actually check these things, which are also available on the YouTube as well as at this the virtual tour. So this is an entire kind of a documentary on the Navganis, who is the community that helps moving the safes or the heavy objects from one place to the other.
मुंबईला यायचं कारण म्हणजे आमच्या घरी जरा काय होतं, शेती कमी असते, पाऊस कमी पडायचा ना, जास्त व्हायचा कधी कमी व्हायचा, त्याच्यामुळे शेतीमध्ये आमचं भागत नव्हतं. त्याच्यावेळेस वडील काय करायचे, मुंबईला असायचे, पावसाळा असेल तर गावी जायचे शेती करायला, उन्हाळा आला मुंबईला यायचे काम करायला, कारण आमच्या गावचे सगळे लोक इथं गोदरेजमध्ये काम करतात.
So these kind of films actually you can check also, and then of course we have the soaps panels, and this is how actually the different advertisements that you can see. This is Madhubala advertising for Watni. This is of course from 1956, because this ad is actually also mentioning about her upcoming film Rajhat, which was supposed to be released in 1956. This we actually got from Chor Bazaar in Mumbai. So these are like very interesting advertisement that you can see. You can see Ardeshir Godrej's handwritten Gujarati letter, and a very beautiful letterheads that you can now see in this virtual tour. This is actually one of the first women employee of Delhi branch, whom we had interviewed, and these interviews also you can hear.
And at that time, Godrej wasn't employing any ladies.
No, so now for when Rajkumar said that
no, at that time in the sense
when I said
when you,
no.
Okay.
And when I was expecting my first child, so we had a very, it was like a family. So I had a colleague called Sardana, he was our accountant.
So she's here actually talking about, there were no maternity leave rules because she was the first lady. So for her, actually, the maternity leave policy had to be created. So she's talking about that. So these are like, interesting things. And then we have created these kind of eras, so that now you can go into the post-independence era. And here, actually, I would like to, this is our favorite object, because our designers kept asking us while curating this, what are our own favorites, what we would like to, what are the interesting stories that you think we should be showcasing. And this is one of the important objects from India's history as well, because Godrej manufactured the ballot boxes for independent India's first election. So now we usually show them the ballot box, and we open it when the visitors are coming. So here it is just a click thing, so you can just close it, you can open it, you can actually see how the things are working. you can see inside the box. And so this is how actually we wanted to create the experience. And again, the AR scan is also available, and the stories are also there. With the typewriter also, because usually we just allow them, which of course sometimes is putting the object at risk, but servicing is anyways, because but this object is to be used. So so you can't really like not allow people to touch it, because the users were using it almost every day. So why not the visitors? So here actually in the virtual space, what we have done is creating this again, and then you can actually type on the keyboard. So I will just type, say, hello, and you can you can actually see that. And you can also use the backspace, which of course wasn't the feature of the typewriter, but you can actually experience the sound which was there in the physical space, but now you can't hear it when you're actually experiencing it virtually. And this was a really tough object to convert into the virtual object, because the specifications have to be right, the size have to be right. So this was the first model that Godrej manufactured in 1955. So this is actually how actually the sound really makes an interesting experience. So this you can also try out at leisure. And then of course we have these kind of visa decks that Godrej manufactured, which was like keeping an information on Excel but in a very physical way. Or so these were the kind of products that we really loved. And this is the first advertisement of the typewriter. This is the third model advertisement. So these are the kind of things which we use. So in the showcase also, now you can see the print blocks that we had again found in Lal Bagh, and how they are actually printing it even now. So these are the kind of things which we did. And then of course these are some of the earlier Vickroli pictures that people can actually look at. So if you go to 1943, because this is the Vickroli. So Vickroli as a land was purchased in a public auction, and this is how it looks like. So you can actually click on this, and then this is how the Vickroli looked like in 1959. So with only 2 plants here, and there is a subway which is still there. This Godrej school is not here, it is yet to come. So all these kind of developments, or all these kind of pictures of the residential complex coming up, all these construction pictures really made it really very interesting kind of a thing. And here you can actually hear
When you first came for the interview to Vikhroli, I suppose, how you find the place? What was the impression, the first impression?
No, the first impression was, if you remember, the Agra road was very narrow. What we have, the Agra road is very narrow. When I came to interview, there was
So Agra Road that he's mentioning is actually today's LBS Road, which is Lal Bahadur Shastri Marg. So these are the kind of special histories we created, and this is how actually our Vikhroli map looks like. So people can actually go on these kind of platforms, just click on the thing. So what we were showing on the Kindles is now visible over here. So what this plant 1 was really manufacturing, what is its history, what plant 4 was manufacturing, so mostly the cupboards. So all these kind of things which we tried incorporating over here. These are again the audio by...
It just started Vikhroli. There was no plants there, only plant 1 had just come up.
Okay.
And I was told to start plant 1. Those days was great fun.
So these are actually the kind of things that are, you can actually look at. And again, this number 1 is actually creating, different things. And this is actually the 1971, which is actually, again, a different kind of an era that one goes into. So here it is like the architectural fabrication that Godrej was involved in. And these were the kind of buildings like Oberoi Hotel, today's Trident, TIFR, all these buildings that were coming up were provided with the aluminum fabrication that Godrej did for them. So there is a little bit of history about this unknown chapter in Godrej's history. So we also tried, incorporating a lot of these unknown things over here. And this is that story of Amanda engineer who had come all the way from London to look at, what the father has, done in Godrej. So this is the personnel file that we showed her, his application letter, the interview call on the postcards, his letter of appointment, and this is the cricket team that you can see, and he's featured here. So these are the kind of things which we had done over here. And then of course, wait, yeah. And this is the aerospace story, and how actually, Godrej started working with ISRO, manufacturing a lot of components for the space launches, how Godrej actually even manufactures engines for the satellite launching vehicles, how it started, how we actually, so these are again the oral history interviews of one Mr. Datar, who is talking about the expander technology that Godrej manufactured. And here is, the sketch of the expander that he keeps talking about. So we could actually relate some of these things, that we have in the physical exhibition over here as well. So this is the expander, and here Data talking about this expander as well. So this is basically, to provide the different, just to like, peep into the virtual tour that we have. We also have these kind of guys that will tell you where exactly you are in the, if you are like viewing it as a physical space. So those kind of things also we tried and incorporating. Yeah. So yes, so this is actually, how you can experience it. And then of course we also have, I'll just try and see if I can. Yeah. So this is a video booth. So now you can't really enter a video booth virtually. So here we have created these kind of film reels, and you can actually go through the different kinds of videos that we had put in that video booth. So a lot of old advertisements that you can see over here. For example, if you just click on this old Storewell ad, some of you might have already seen in 80s or 90s.
हमारी नई शादी हुई थी, तभी हमने पहला गोदरेज स्टोरवेल खरीदा। जब आनंद ने पहला कदम रखा, हमने अपना दूसरा गोदरेज स्टोरवेल खरीदा। आनंद कितना प्यारा दुल्हा बना। हमने उन्हें जीवन भर चलने वाला उपहार दिया।
Godrej Storewell.
So these are actually, have a lot of recall values. So we had put these kind of things, or this first corporate film, if you're interested, because this first corporate film was made by a very well-known documentary filmmaker, B.D. Garga, and the music was given by Vanraj Bhatia, who has also given music for Jaane Bhi Do Yaro. So these were the stalwarts who were involved in making this corporate film. And it's a 20 minutes corporate film, which will give you a glimpse into how Vikhroli looked like in 60s. And you can watch it at your own pace and in your own space. So this is actually basically what now the virtual tour really allows. Because but of course, means I would definitely invite you to come to the physical space as well, where we can also show you how really the things are done behind the scenes, like, not just the exhibition, but what we are actually doing at the archive. So in case any one of you are interested in visiting us in Vikhroli, do drop us an email, which is archives@godrej.com, archives as in plural. And please do come. So this is just a glimpse that I could give you as far as the virtual tour is concerned, but there is so much that you can keep exploring in this virtual tour. So please do that at your leisure. And so that's all from me right now.
Thank you, Vrunda. Thank you so much. That was really great fun. I think, and I wish more people would also, more companies would archive like this, because like it's more than just the company also. It's like there's so much of the history of the nation, of the city woven into it as well. So it was particularly lovely. And I know this physical space is gorgeous, but there's a particular fun in clicking on typewriter keys.
Yeah.
Online also, and just like opening things and closing. I think there's a childish joy in that.
Yeah. Yes.
And I've worked on Godrej and advertising role.
Oh.
So the Godrej film was really interesting to see in the end, and the soap packaging, which I loved. But thank you. It was really fun. And I'm just going to get to our questions now. There are a couple come in. Farouk wanted to know, how can small businesses make a beginning towards creating their business archives? What kind of external expertise is available for this? Like, I think lots of people may not know where
Yes.
to.
Yeah, actually, it really doesn't depend on how small or how big is actually the is the business, because it's in fact, I would say it's better to start as early as possible. Because when you are like just 10 years old or 5 years old, at least you will have the access to the records. Now if I have to access the 100-year-old locks records, it's really nearly impossible, because many of it would have been lost to time, or to any external factors. So in fact, it is always, may it be a small business, may it be a young business. A lot of European companies who are just like 20 years old, they already have the archives, because there is a practice that whenever you start any organization, you will start archiving right from the day one, because that's, I think, the advice would be like, start as early as possible. There is no such thing like you have to wait till 50 years, because history is also a year old or a day old, because, and especially now that we have so much of technology available, it's easier to do that. And even like you can save the space, because a lot of things are now digitally being created in the organization. So you have emails, you have all the digital documents, so it's actually far more easier. Of course, there are a lot of complexities involved in digital archiving as well, but at least it's there. As far as external expertise is concerned, there are now a lot of agencies, consultants who are there, who can help you with setting up the archives if you have those kind of necessary budgets. But even if you like start with your in-house team, even that is possible if you know the basics stuff, and if you have anyone who can just guide you initially, and you can train your own team, and then you can actually go forward, because trained personnel is not really available, to be frank, easily in India, because only National Archives of India has the courses. Now, of course, there are many institutions who might be offering some of the modules on archives. Some of the colleges have initiated. Now we are initiating a certificate course for college students. So external expertise is also available. There are consultants whom you can start working with depending on whatever the budgets you have. But it is not really a rocket science, because archiving means, I always keep saying that it's more about the common sense. It is more about data arrangement. Of course, you need to know the basics of the archives management, but that's I think something which you can learn over the years, because that's how even my team has been shaped. So that shouldn't be an issue. Yeah.
Right. In fact, Farouk's other question was that
yes,
mentioning our designers.
Okay.
Team, or did you have design consultants?
Oh, no, we have a design consultant, but we had worked with this design team at Hanno in Bangalore for many years. So they, in fact, were involved even in designing the typewriter book, where they actually created an experience of typewriter through the book design as well. So we had worked with them so much, and they are so much familiar. I think that our designers comes very easily. But I think, yeah, but no, they are a agency based in Bangalore. And Sarita herself is an expert in heritage interpretation and how to, design these kind of exhibition spaces where heritage and legacy is involved. So I keep referring to them as art designers, but that's how close I think the bond has been formed over the years, I guess. But they are the agency which is independent of Godrej.
Okay. Burgess wanted to know, what is the story behind the boy's name? Who was
Oh,
Mr.
yeah, yes.
And how did he come to be associated with the Godrej family? Was he from the same family that built the boys Agyari at Tardev?
Okay. So yeah, so that's actually the question which we keep, getting after every presentation. So basically, when Ardeshir started, he was in need of funds because he was a middle class boy. They never had like a business background as such. His father was into the real estate, is what but we don't have records where we can exactly know what his father was doing. But they were not a business family. So when he started, he didn't want to ask for money from father like every, I think, youngster would do who wants to start on his own. So what he did was he knew his father's friend Mancherji Kama, who is a well-known, of course, figure in Bombay history. He's also listed in Parsi Lister book. So Mancherji Kama was a trader, and he approached him. So Mancherji gave him the funds. So when he became a little successful with his locks business, he went back to return his money. When Mancherji Kama said that, why, you don't return the money, but you take my nephew whose name was Boyce. So Boyce was a Parsi boy, Mancherji Kama's nephew. And Mancherji wanted him to, start working, get experience. So he thought Ardeshir would be a very industrious man, so he would learn from Ardeshir. So that's how actually Boyce joined it. And that's how actually this name Godrej and Boyce came. But Boyce actually left like he was there for like very few years. We don't have, unfortunately, a lot of records on him. So only we through the letterheads we know that how the boy's name is stuck. But when the company incorporated in 1932, at that time Boyce wasn't really around, but Ardeshir still continued with the name as a goodwill gesture because his uncle has funded him initially. So that's how the boy's name appears in Godrej and Boyce. I'm not very sure about the boys Sagyari, whether that's the family, but I'll try and look up. But thank you for that. So I will definitely try and look up more, because we are also trying to find more on boys ourselves. So if in case you get any leads, please share those as well. Yeah.
Okay. Meera is asking, she said the old films that you have usually were on VHS, and how did you retrieve these and how did you convert them into such quality?
See, this note that we have actually recovered was recovered way back in 40s only. So we only discovered it at Lal Bagh. So Lal Bagh was an abandoned factory when we had already started setting up the archives. So somebody told us that there are, like records lying around. So, just you go there and see. And we were actually just going through the records which were there in the cupboards, which were also on the floor. So we actually like went through and we found this frame over there. So we really haven't really gone to like see where the safes were recovered, because it must be like employees might have gone there in 40s itself and they have like kept these things. They have framed it and were using it as an advertising thing. So yeah, so we just discovered it at Lal Bagh. So we haven't really like went to the port trust as such, because now it is really very difficult, because obviously it's been many years and you won't be able to recover anything like that. But from people, if they have actually kept things, that's whom we actually approach and from where we source our things. But this was actually just one random discovery at Lal Bagh, which we were like really very happy with. But yeah.
And the films and all that you all have found, how have you all?
Oh yeah. So we actually have like different, we keep always looking for different sources. So this first corporate film has a very interesting story, because we had no clue about this corporate film. We only had album, which said release of Godrej story, and that was released by Moraji Desai. There was a film screening that happened at Vigyan Bhavan, Delhi. So we have the photographs. So we knew that this kind of a film was made in 60s, but we had no clue where this film was. Like in 2006, Godrej Archives started. So, after that also, like for few years, we had no clue about this film. Only that, this film existed is what we knew of. But then there was one office was being renovated at Plant 12 on the campus. And they suddenly called us saying that, that we have found some reels. There are some 3 cases of these 3 reels that we have found. Why don't you come and check those? So we just went there. When we saw that, it was quite a amazing moment for us, because the label said Godrej Story, and we could actually relate to the album, and we said, oh, this is the first corporate film that we were like trying to get hold of. But then this was a 35 film. We needed a projector to project this film, because nobody, nowadays in the cinemas, they use a digital copy for projecting the films. So where to find this projector? Then we checked with the films division at Pedder Road, whether they have the projector. And they said, yes, we have the projector, because they have some of the old films as well. So we said, can we project it? So we hired the auditorium, but they said, you can't really do, because this is the very old film. So we have to first chemically treat it, because we can't put it up on the projector, otherwise it would break. So then we actually went, through the preservation, and then we actually did the screening. Only 3 from our archives team member were in the auditorium, in that big auditorium, and we were actually watching that. And that was an amazing experience for us, because it's a 20-minute film. We could see how Vikhroli looked like in 60s. There was nothing around Godrej, just Godrej in Vikhroli. And it was really amazing. So this is the kind of, so we keep doing record surveys constantly with the businesses. We are always after the businesses that, please send to us, the correct information, the right information. So that's actually part of our archiving processes. So we do these kind of constant record surveys. And now, because people know that archives exist, they also call us in case they find anything. So that's the kind of process that we had set now. And of course, the customers also keep calling us if they have any old cupboards, in old refrigerators. So from various sources, even the dealers have a lot of information, because some of the dealers are working with Godrej for 3 generations, 4 generations. So various sources, and of course the libraries and old, the state archives also we keep referring to. That's the journey which is not going to end anywhere. We are constantly searching. Yeah.
Well, that is a lot of work, even to recover the film and stuff.
Yeah.
Captain Commander Mohan Narayan has 2 questions. He says, vis-a-vis the safes with the contents recovered during the Bombay dock explosion, from where exactly in the port trust were the safes recovered? Would you know?
Oh, no, we have really no idea, because as I have told you, we only got this note which was lying in Lal Bagh factory. So we have really no clue, but we have kept hearing the stories about that safes flung from the window, but the safes had only the dent. So a lot of people keep telling us the stories which I think their grandfathers have told them. So only we know these stories, but we have no clue from where this particular note was found. Yeah.
Okay. And his other questions were the Godrej the first private sector company to provide housing for its staff? And housing started?
Yeah. No, we were not the first, because the housing was, a problem that was faced in India, and in 50s and 60s, and actually from 30s and 40s only, people have been discussing in Mumbai's history why there is, a need of housing. A lot of, even the Bombay Improvement Trust, they work towards, meeting those kind of needs. So there is Tatas who have Jamshedpur. Kirloskar has Kirloskar Wadi, Bajaj has. So there were a lot of industrialists who were thinking about, the residential complexes and housing. Godrej started in 40s itself. The first housing complex comes in in 50s itself. So in 59, if you have, I don't know if you remember the photograph, there are a lot of these Betty chawls that you see in the picture of 1959. So these were the earlier housing, and 2-storied had just started coming up in 1959. So there were 3, 4. So when actually the Vikhroli township was planned in 43, after they bought this land in an auction, they were already planning for the housing. So it is parallelly with the factories and the plants that they were constructing, they had already thought of the housing. So it is from 40s, we have the plans where they have marked the spaces for the housing, how the designs would be. So yeah, so from 50s, the housing has already been started. Yeah, I think that's, so I hope I've answered more Commodore
Yes.
Narayan's question. Yeah.
Thank you. And Adil is asking, what would the be for setting up an archive and an exhibition such as this?
That actually completely depends on what exactly you want to incorporate, because if you want to really incorporate a lot of digital things, then a lot of investment would go into buying the screens, the Kindles, a lot of tabs. So those kind of things also you have to think about. So so you can actually start anything from like, even like if you want to do like a very smaller thing, it can be 5 lakhs, but here setting up the archives would actually change every year, because when I had started in 2006, we didn't have much budgets. But today, when we have like conservation lab, exhibition space, digitization lab, all that together, plus the repository, plus the the 24/7 AC that we have to maintain, all that will add up to the cost. And for and also the staff. So now with the staff of 10 and with all these facilities, it can be also from 50 lakhs to 60 lakhs, yearly budgets that we have, including the training, exhibitions, everything. So but it can vary, because these kind of figures shouldn't really discourage anyone from starting the archives, because when we started, we didn't have this budget. We had a really very small room, just 2 filing cabinets, and 1 plan filing cabinet, and 2 tables. So that's how also you can start the archives with. So and then once actually you have established the value of the archives in the organization, the funds will start coming in. So I won't want to like discourage people by saying that you need 50 lakhs or 1 crore for the archives. You can also start with even like a lakh of rupees, and then like, start expanding it, depending on the budgets you have. And exhibitions, again, even the scale of the exhibition will decide. This exhibition, cost us around like some 20 to 25 lakhs, because there were a lot of components. And then we have to recreate the space. So that was an additional cost. The design cost is different. So yeah, so it varies a kind of a scale. We have also done exhibition, which were pop-up exhibitions, which were hardly cost us anything. So that is also, doable. So, but this exhibition is like somewhere around 25, I would say. Virtual tour is again somewhere around within 10. It doesn't take, if you have all the material ready, if but if that again depends on what kind of features you need. If you need an augmented reality, if you need a VR, what kind of experience you want to give, that would increase the cost. So depending on, otherwise seamless kind of just virtual exhibition is also possible, which shouldn't be taking much of your cost as well. So depending on what you want to do with the material, I think it's it's better to decide on the basis of that. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. And Govind said he really enjoyed the talk, but he also wanted to know, he said, can you please show the Lal Bagh location and how, I think he wants to know where exactly the physical space is. Govind, if I've got your question right.
Physical as in the Godrej Archives?
Yeah.
So Godrej Archives is in Vikhroli. So we are on the western side of the campus. So if you are coming to visit us, you can come from
actually,
yes.
Actually, that I wanted to know that where was it started in 1897 in Lal Bagh area.
Okay. So in Lal Bagh, actually, it started in Bombay Gas Company Lane. So where exactly the Bombay Gas Company was, now of course there is one residential complex has come up. So if you just go to the end of the Bombay Gas Company Lane, you will still find the Lal Bagh building, and some of the factory sheds are still there. Empty, of course, but they are still there. So if you know where the Bombay Gas Company Lane is, then I think
that is very much near to Volta's office, right?
Volta's is little further. This is actually near Lal Bagh Sa Ganpati. So yeah. So I think so it's exactly opposite that. So there is a very small lane. You
Sure.
can actually Google it and you will see Bombay Gas Company Lane. I think it's still
Sure.
named as that.
Yeah.
If that is not changed. Yeah.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you
Or
so
you can
much.
join the Lal Bagh Walk of Khaki Doors. I think
Fine,
they will
fine.
show you.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
We do cover it on our Lal Bagh walk. So if you'd like
Yeah.
to hop on that, you'd get a good idea. And I had one more question, I think, which somebody had answered. I think they joined late and wanted the link to the archive.
Yes. Yeah. So I think my colleague has already put the link. Yeah.
So Sham, if you want to just take that from the chat.
Yeah.
I think that brings us to the end of our questions. And it was really lovely and truly fascinating. I think to do it in person and virtually. But thank you very much for your time again, Vrunda. And a big thank you from all of us at Khaki for coming on today.
Oh, thank you so much. I enjoyed actually talking to everyone. Thanks.